She is this year's valedictorian, and she'd like to practice her graduation speech tonight. Next fall, she'll be attending Harvard University, where she plans to continue improving her public speaking skills. Let's welcome Kristen Eberts.
Hi guys, let me just the mic here. Okay, so I'm Kristen, and she just introduced me, so you know who I am. And just as kind of a disclaimer, my graduation speech is limited to 3 minutes, according to the principal. So I'm going to try to stretch it out a little bit to meet the Toastmasters time limit, but just understand I might have to kind of digress a little bit at the end to make that fit. But anyway, so imagine you're the graduating class. Think back a little bit. We're here, and we made it, and we are seniors. We're the class of 2009. So I want you to think about what that means. Not just being here. There, for some of us, just getting to the ceremony was an ordeal, because we finished exams on Tuesday, we were looking forward to sleeping in all summer, but one day we got to, and then we realized, oh yeah, for graduation day we have to be there at 7 a.m. Darn. But more than that, being here shows that you've worked and that you've achieved and that you've conquered obstacles for 4 full years. For most of us, that's like a quarter of our lives, slightly less, slightly more. And that means today isn't just about celebrating the end of senior week, it's not just about celebrating our personal achievements, it's about celebrating ourselves as a community. I remember freshman year, I'd never been to Largo except for one little half-hour tour in 8th grade. So I got there on the first day, and I got my class schedule. My first class was in AA. I had no idea where that was because there was an A wing, there was a B wing, there was a C wing. There was no AA wing that I knew of. So I wandered around the campus for about literally 15 minutes. And finally, this senior walked up to me and she says, "Are you lost? Are you a freshman?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Where are you heading?" I said, AA. She says, "Oh, I have a class there. I'll take you." So she leaves me there. She takes me to a classroom. She introduces me to the teacher, makes sure I have everything that I need. And I said, "Thank you so much, but why did you do this?" She said, "It's just what we do here. It's just what we do here." So I was thinking about that when I was writing this. And it occurred to me that that is not something you'll see at a lot of other high schools. We hear all the time about drug use and violence and fights in the halls, and we don't hear a lot about the positive spirit in our schools, in our classrooms, in our students. But at Largo, that's something we're very lucky to have. We have that spirit of cooperation and respect and trust. And even though we don't see it every day, we know that it's there. We are part of the Largo community now. And after today, in 2.5 hours, we're going to be alumni of that community. But we're never going to leave it. We're always going to be Packers. We're always going to be those kids from little country high school and we've made something of ourselves, and we've worked for a quarter of our lives, and we're honoring that today. I found, a couple weeks ago, I was looking through some old files. I was finally cleaning out my room, and I found one of my old freshman transcripts from, I think, the first semester. So I was looking through it. There wasn't a whole lot on there. We just started, and I found our class size, and we had 698 students. To put that in perspective, today, according to the graduation program, we have less than 400 students. That means we lost over 300 kids over the course of these 4 years. Some of them left to go to the early college program at SPC. Some of them wanted to move out of state. But the vast majority of them aren't here because they dropped out. So to be here means that you are the 400 out of the 700 who worked hard enough, who achieved enough, who dedicated themselves enough to make it. And it's not a small achievement. Just because a lot of people have high school diplomas doesn't mean that it's a de facto or de rigueur thing. It doesn't mean that it's just something you have to do. It's something that takes work and commitment, and we've done that. Okay. And so you made it here through hard work and commitment. I'm going to skip to the next sentence. We made it here because of something called future preference. And a few months ago, actually, I was reading this book, and it was actually a biography of Bill Clinton, and no matter what you think of him, I think that this particular thing is something we can all relate to. When Clinton was a student at Georgetown University, way back in the 60s, he had this class in Western Civilizations from this professor called Carol Quigley. On the first day of every school year, Professor Quigley would give this lecture called the Future Preference Lecture. I'd like to give you a little bit of a quote. "The thing that got you into this classroom today is belief in the future. Belief that the future can be better than the present, and that people will and should sacrifice in the present to get to that better future. That belief has taken men out of the chaos and deprivation that most human beings toiled in for most of history to the point we are at today. Only one thing will kill our civilization and our way of life: when people no longer have the will to undergo the pain required to prefer the future to the present. That's what got us through 2 wars and the Depression. Future preference. Don't ever forget that. Remember that there are 300 people who aren't here today, almost half of our class. But the slightly less than 400 of us who remain because we preferred the future to the present. When we were freshmen, getting lost, and wondering when we were going to get out, and when it was going to be Friday already, and wondering when the summer would come, we stayed in school, and we worked, and we made the grades, and we fulfilled the requirements in order to get to the brighter future, which is today. Today is that future that we've been waiting for 4 years, that we preferred more than all the pain and the hard work of the past 3 years. That's something to be proud of. Not something to laugh at. It's not something to just say, well, I got my diploma, I'm going to go head off to the next stage of my life now. That's something you need to think about and consider, because it's a substantial achievement. For a lot of us, it's going to be one of the biggest things we ever accomplish. So, just to continue, this is not the last time we'll be seniors. And 3 years ago was not the last time that we'll be freshmen. Because there's always going to be a time in life where you have to start over, where you get into an unfamiliar situation where you don't know what's coming next. If you're going to college, you'll have a literal freshman year. If you're going to the military, you'll start off at a low rank and work your way up. The same with the workforce. You start at the entry level and work up. If you come to Toastmasters, you have to start at speech number 1. So, please remember, after you leave here, the next step is to be a freshman again. You're going to get lost again. You're going to wonder, when is it Friday already? When's the summer coming? But there's always the future. There's always that hope that it's going to be a little bit better than today. So after high school, for the next 50, 60, 70 years, I urge all of us, to consider why we do what we do. Are we doing it to build a brighter future for ourselves and our children? Because if we are, then no matter what you're doing, it's the right thing for you to do. And if you realize that what you're doing is not going to make you happy, isn't going to make you a better person in the future, think about it. Why are you doing it? How can you make yourself better? I'm so proud of all of us for making it here. Go Class of 2009.